Hello and welcome to Peggy's Tropical Garden, coming to you from the Florida Keys. Hello and thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to show you how I mount and care for my Monstera Dubia. This plant is a hemiepiphyte, meaning it has roots that grow into the ground as well as tiny roots along its body that allows it to attach to structures. They are also known as shingling plants due to the pattern of their leaf growth. I purchased this one from Thailand and it was dehydrated when I got it. So to hydrate the plant, I buried the ground roots in a bed of sphagnum moss and then laid the remaining part of the plant on top of it. I kept the plant like this for a few days and just used a spray bottle to mist the plant periodically to keep the sphagnum moss moist. This is a look at the small roots on the underside of the plant. It's very important to keep them hydrated so that they will be ready to mount and attach quickly to the pole. These plants are commonly mounted on a piece of wood, but they will attach to a rock, the side of a tree, the side of a house, anything. I chose to mount mine to a pole of coconut fiber. I'll also be using a hanging pot rather than one that will be sitting on the floor. Here she is, ready to go. Notice how flat her leaves are, and this is how the plant stays. It will kind of conform to the flat surface that it's growing on. Here is the mount post that I'll be using. I like the long stake at the bottom because it helps it to be more sturdy. And I also like that it has a hole at the top so that you can add another pole as your plant grows. I'm thinking I'm just going to need the one post for now, but we'll see once I get the plant mounted. Okay, so let's get started. Because these plants are hemiepiphytic, they need like a coarse potting medium that will allow really quick drainage. For this plant, I used a cactus mix with a lot of perlite and some bark chips. You want your soil mix to be able to retain enough moisture to water the plant without the roots sitting in water. And you never want the roots to dry out completely either. There is no universal soil mixture that's going to work the same for everyone. I'm in a hot climate, so moisture is going to evaporate out of my soil much faster than someone who lives in a colder climate with less humidity. So now I'm just filling the pot to a level that will help stabilize the pole. Okay, and I think we're about where we need to be. Okay, now we're ready to mount the plant. Okay, these long roots here are the ground roots. Those are the ones you're going to bury in the soil. So I'm trying to get the sphagnum moss off of them. They still seem to be a little dehydrated to me, but I'm going to go ahead and move forward. And this is the underside of the plant, and you can see that the roots run all the way along the stem of the plant. So I'm going to take the ground roots and put them on the side of the soil where the soil is lower, so that when I build it up by covering them, it'll end up even. You want to make sure the first set of leaves at the bottom of the plant are just above the soil line. To do that, I'm having to dig down just a little. Okay, maybe a little more than a little. Okay, now that I've figured out where the bottom leaves are going to be, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm using some floral tape and I'm going to attach the plant to the post. You can use floral tape, you can use twine, whatever works for you. You just don't want to you don't want to put it so tight that it's going to push into the stem of the plant. Also, whatever you're using to tie the plant to the stake, you don't want to go across the leaves. You want to go under the leaves and just across the stem. And if you've been watching my videos, you know I like to research my plants. And I found out some very interesting information about this one. This is a juvenile plant, And one way that you can tell is because in a mature Monstera Dubia, the leaves are anywhere between 12 and 15 inches, and they look more like a Monstera deliciosa. And they don't shingle, so they don't attach themselves to the trees in the flat form like these at all. So it just kind of turns into a totally different plant. So I find that kind of interesting. As you can see, I've had to tie down in several different spots in order to get the small roots to come in contact with the pole. Okay, there you go. She's all tied down. Now I'm just going to add a little soil on top to fully cover those ground roots. Okay, and here's what it looks like. So now I'll go ahead and water in the ground roots. And next I'll take this spray bottle and heavily mist the coconut fiber pole. I'm trying to encourage the small roots to start adhering to the pole. You can also, if you're going to use one of these or a moss pole, you can also soak that pole beforehand if you want to. I live in a warmer climate, so I plan on keeping this outside year-round. They don't like to be below, say, 55, 60 degrees, and we don't get that cool usually. So I will still plan to mist this plant every other day, given the humidity level that we have. So you'll want to just keep an eye on how quickly whatever your medium is, how quickly it's drying out, and you want to always keep it kind of damp. And that's pretty much it. It's mounted. I think I'm going to go ahead and add that other coconut coir pole because this is all the way to the top already. And this is why I like these particular poles. They fit together nice and snug. Your pole is not wiggling around and all of that, and it's easy to add on. And you don't know how tall your plant's going to get. You can mount philodendrons or anything to these. I'll make sure I add a link in the description box so you can see which particular kind I purchased. I like these because they are just so snug. But anyway, there we go. Now I can tie my top piece to the post. In their native environment, these plants grow under tree canopies, so they're not getting any kind of direct hard light. So they don't have big light requirements. So I'm going to be keeping mine out on my patio. It won't get any direct sun, but it is an area that does get bright light. You definitely don't want to put it somewhere where the leaves can burn. So what I would recommend, what I do with my plants is for the first few weeks, I just kind of keep an eye on them, see how they're liking their spot. If they don't like where they are, then I move them. And I don't move them drastically. I move them a little bit until I see what kind of light they want or where they want to be, and that's where I'll put them. And what I'm doing now is I'm just going back and making sure that the tape wasn't on the leaves. In a couple of spaces, the tape was across the top of the leaf, so I was just moving it off of there because you don't want the wet tape on your leaf. It can rot. And this is what it looks like. From the front, you don't even notice the tape because it's not covering any of the leaves. And I just attached the wire hanger to my to a plastic pot because it's going to be outside and I don't want it to be able to blow down and break. It's got plenty of room for growth, and then I'll just hang it. And here's where she'll be if it suits her. If it doesn't, then I will move her to a different area. But I think she's going to be just fine here. And again, I plan on leaving her out here year round. And with our temperatures, I think she will be just fine. But if we got any kind of, weird weather, of course, I would take her in. And there you have it. And you can use the same process to mount pretty much anything. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Bye-bye.